Clear your desk. Get your number 2 pencil ready. The Inquisition is about to begin.
Nobody respects the Spanish Inquisition.
If you have questions, please refer them to the chat room and make them good.
Go ahead, make my day.
The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
And we're getting on with it. It's Friday. We're going to have a little fun today on Friday. We'll have Wilbur Witt coming up at 2, so it'll be Wit and Wisdom. And we will have a lot of other news information in the second hour. We're going to talk about the Alamo Rally, because the Alamo Rally is going to happen on Saturday the 25th, Saturday, April the 25th at 3 p.m. It's just going to be me and a couple of hundred of my closest friends. And we're going to be there. And, of course, we're encouraging you to bring a mask, because we don't want the story to be how the wild, crazy guys refuse to wear a mask. The story, the objective is that we want to bring attention to what George P. Bush is doing to our Alamo and tearing down the Alamo. We just don't like that, and we want to stop it if we can, because right now it's just getting rid of the gazebo, right? They took out that beautiful gazebo that meant so much to me in my youth, and now they're taking away the cenotaph. That's the next thing, going to get rid of that, and then after that it'll be the long barracks, and then pretty soon the chapel is just going to be in the way of the theme park, and they'll have to get rid of that too. That's pretty high-priced real estate downtown, you know. So we're going to go down there and try to put a stop to it as soon as we can. So I'm asking all of you to be there Saturday, April the 25th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the Alamo Throwdown Band is going to be playing. So you'll even get to hear some good music. That'll be me and Conrad Guthrie and Dennis Pellegrini. We're going to be down there. We're going to be having a good time. So I'm asking all of you to join us for that. And load up the car, bring the kiddies. It's a family-friendly event. So on that note, we have studio guests today, and we've got this book right here. Does this ring a bell with anybody? Too busy to vote, too busy to be part of society. Just you just want to let somebody else make all those choices for you because you don't think you know how. Well, we have today Kathy and Joe Losetta, and they're here. And they wrote this book, and it's an excellent book. And we're going to talk about it, so I'm going to welcome them to the show about this point in time. And as soon as I can find the camera, I know I have one. There it is. Kathy and Joe, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming.
For having us, Doc.
I really enjoyed. I haven't gotten through all of your book yet, but I have gotten through a lot of it, and I've highlighted a lot of it. So I got a lot of highlights in here, and there's some really great information in here. And in one sense, a lot of this is common sense, or what used to be common sense, but I feel like we've entirely lost our path. We don't know what we're doing. So starting out. You guys weren't always politically connected. And let me hear your mic, Joe.
Testing. Yes, that's correct. We were asleep, and we were reborn again, I would say, in the early 90s.
Well, tell me a little bit about that while I adjust your mic.
Well, the early 90s was really a crazy time for Kathy and I. A lot happened to us. First of all, we got married. That was a big deal, and we're living happier ever after, thank God. We relocated from New Jersey to the great state of Texas, so Texans who were listening to us, we got here as quickly as we could. So that was another thing that happened. We had our one and only child, Russell. I started a new job. What else? We recommitted our lives to Jesus, and we started to become...
That's kind of important, by the way.
Yes, indeed, and we became politically active. So that's what happened. And as far as the political activation in us, we consider ourselves reborn again Christians and reborn again political activists. And that was a long time ago. and a lot has happened to us, and we tell a lot about what has happened to us, and maybe others who read our book or who are listening in can relate to our adventure. So, Kathy, why don't you pick up? I guess once we moved here and recommitted our lives to Jesus, we began serving. So, and that had a huge impact.
Well, this is your second book. You wrote another book.
Yes, the first book was Too Busy to Serve. So, Kathy, tell Doc and the audience, what did we discover as we started to serve the Lord together?
Well, becoming Christians was a big deal. That happened shortly after our son was born. I met someone, and Joe, you had two people at your office that were working on you. So Joe was in a Joe needed two. He was in a sandwich, so he needed two. I only needed one, but we just decided to downsize. That was a big decision when we moved from New Jersey to Texas. We
And talk a little bit more in this direction, if you would.
Yeah. We needed to, capital gains, and so we flipped one house in New Jersey, bought a house down here, and became Christians, and decided we didn't need all this stuff, and downsized and became debt free and homeless in 5 days, and it was great. And
Homeless.
well, we had to find a place to live because they wanted to move in very quickly. So we're like, fine.
Of course, usually somebody that moves from New Jersey to Texas, that's not exactly downsizing. Typically, for the same money, you get a much larger house here in Texas.
And that's pretty much what happened. We weren't looking for that, but we were looking to just not, upset the apple cart with our finances. So, but once we became Christians, we decided we didn't need all this stuff, and that wasn't what we needed to focus on. And we also wanted to be free to serve God, family, and country, and that's where both of our books come in. And I'm not sure where to go from there.
Yeah, well, the other thing we discovered is as we began serving, we realized, at least at the church that we were at, 20 or 30% of the people were serving, and the other 70 or 80% were kind of standing by, watching on the sidelines. And that really made us wonder, like, why aren't more people serving?
Well, you probably know this by now, but that's normal.
It is,
The
unfortunately.
80-20 rule is
Absolutely.
ubiquitous, universal, everywhere.
And unfortunately, it is normal, but I don't think it's pleasing to God, that's for sure. And the more we probed, the more we started to realize that the answer to the question, what's holding you back? Because we asked a lot of people that question, well, what's holding you back from serving? And we had an opportunity to ask that question because we became Financial Peace University coaches and coordinators. So we built some real trusting relationships. And here's what we often heard: I'm too busy. I don't have the time. And as we explored that more deeply, we discovered that
That's Dave Ramsey's deal, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, very good program.
And the more we probed, the more we discovered that a lot of people were really struggling, Doc, to manage their finances and their time.
Well, I recall reading in your book that, if your finances are a mess, the rest of your life probably is not much better. And
Yeah.
I had to agree with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
So a lot of people were struggling with just paying the rent. And unfortunately, and during this COVID-19 crisis, with a lot of people out of work, what is the current number? I don't know, 21, 22, 25 million people out of work. The statistic, at least before the COVID-19 pandemic, was about 70% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
So for those who haven't had a paycheck in the last 30, 45 days, they're probably really struggling.
I can testify. It's absolute truth. I can tell you, I filed my taxes this year. I filed 30 days early because I had nothing else to do anyway. The phone wasn't ringing. Hey, there's Glenn. Good to see you, my truck driving buddy. Where are you at today, Glenn? Tell me. And the Apostle Claver T. Kamau Imani has joined us. So I am indeed impressed because I don't get to see him very much. So I'm glad to have him in the chat room as well. And Luke Sanchez and Randy Beal and Frank Lopez. Glad to have all of you guys out there. So, yeah, right now it's been fairly difficult. I have not gotten my stimulus check. And I did apply for the company because I do have a band, and my band of married men and one woman we're all out of work. They canceled all of our gigs for March.
Yeah.
So I applied for that too. And so far, I have nothing, not a penny. And I'm on Social Security, so it's not like they don't know where to put my check, right? So anyway, all of that said, and Glenn didn't get the notification, and that's to be normal because Facebook and YouTube deliberately do not send out notifications when I go live. So, yes, it's very tough, but I do appreciate the Financial Peace University. I like their operation, and I think more people could benefit from having that.
Yes. Well, we give them rave reviews, and in our book, Too Busy to Serve, we not only help people to get their financial house in order, but we also help them to get their whole life in order.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are out of balance, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, physically. So we like to focus on all of those things. The other thing we discovered once we became more and more politically active, I'll never forget, we started block walking. And Kathy, why don't you tell the folks about our block walking experience?
Yeah, that was a real eye opener. We had a bond, which we were against because it was just wasteful spending. We didn't agree with where they were going to put the roads, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Is this that school bond we're talking about, or is this a road bond?
This was a road bond that they were going to put
road utility district, guys.
Yes, and it was a huge, expensive bond. I think it was like 500 or 800. I don't know what it was, million. So we were really up in arms about that as a community, and so we started to volunteer to hand out voter guides. So we got our little precinct voter guides and our block walking routine, and so we decided to do it. And what we found was that you only deliver the voter guides to homes that are active voters.
Mm-hmm.
So we would go up and down the streets, and there was one street that had about 20 houses on it. And we only had to hand out 5 voter guides on that street, which meant that
5 out of 20.
So that means only 5 houses were voting. The 15 houses were not voting, but they were still paying taxes. So I guess they didn't care about where their taxes went. And that just shocked us. So, between teaching financial peace and seeing that, we thought, what the heck is going on here? And it just dawned on us that, well, if your finances are out of order, then and these were some nice neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
These folks were paying a lot of taxes. And we just figured, well, people are just not paying attention. They're too busy to vote. And that's that was shocking. So that really got us involved in why are people too busy to vote?
Well, that's a very good question, and this is a question that we're asking today. Somebody once said, I think it was Cicero, but I think he said that if you do not get involved in politics, you're going to be ruled by your inferiors.
Right.
Yes.
And
exactly.
Somebody else about that same point in time said, you may not be interested in politics, but politics is definitely interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Well, we started to do some research, and we were shocked. The more we dug, the more shocked we were. One of the things we discovered that really got our attention was that not every Christian votes.
Yeah.
And to put that into perspective, if you look, let's say this coming Sunday, and incidentally, churches are back in business thanks to our